All right, so the first thing we're going to install with brew is bash. We're not going to talk about bash versus Z shell right now. That's a separate video. So get on the command line, brew. Oops, we're not going to be able to do brew, remember, because it's in that weird place. Opt homebrew. I push tab there, bin, brew. Now, we have to do this the first time because we haven't set up our shell yet to know where the brew command line, the brew command is, which we are going to do, but we're going to do it after we get bash installed. So we're going to go ahead and use this long-winded one. If you're on an Intel Mac, it might be user local. So opt homebrew bin brew install bash, I think. Let's try it. So it's going to go get the bash cask and download it. Disable this by heavier, blah, blah, blah. All right, so now let's just see if it finds bash, bash dash v. Oops, no, not that. We don't need that yet. Oh, this is from my bash RC, yeah, which you're not supposed to know about yet. so if you have a bash, you should be good to go. Man bash. This is not going to be the same bash, probably. Actually, let's do. Well, you can do this. You can do bash. If you just execute bash, you should get a new bash, right? Now the question is, which bash is it though? And I think you're going to need a new shell for that. So right now you don't know how to reinitialize your shell. So go ahead and stop your terminal and restart it. I don't ever do that, but this is the thing to do for now because you don't know. So we're going to go ahead and open another terminal, Command T. And this time we should be able to exec bash. And we should get bash here. Let's see what environment variables we have. I'm trying to figure out which version of bash we actually have. Let's do a search. I mean, I know one way, but I want to see what you would do if you found it. What would you find? How can I know which version of bash? Bash dash v usually. Echo bash version. All right, so echo. That's what I was going to do. So honestly, I just wanted to make sure there wasn't a better way. So this is 3.2, and if you can go to a search and say what is the most recent version of bash. I'm still searching not using the terminal. I do this from the terminal, so stay tuned if you want to see videos about how to search from the terminal. It's way more effective. So what is the most recent version of bash? This is the kind of thing you could ask ChatGPT from the terminal as well. So this looks like it did not find the bash that we wanted to because our path is wrong. So I think we're going to probably want to do opt homebrew bin. And I'm guessing that bash got installed here, which it did. And now let's echo bash version. Echo bash version. And we get 5.2. So that is going to be our new shell. But that's how you install it there. The hard part now is to change our shell. We're going to need to do this account, this particular command. Now this change shell command is a Mac only sort of thing. I mean, you can do it on Unix as well, other Unices, but it's generally not. You generally wouldn't do this. You would change etc password if you were doing this with Linux, but that's information you don't need to know. So right now, let's just do this: opt homebrew bin bash. And that should get us where we need to be. Yeah. I have, oopsie. I have to try it again because I have a really, really long password. I know. Yeah. non-standard shell. I'm gonna have to throw this video away too. It is totally a standard shell. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. My Mac doesn't have that. My other Mac is totally fine. It finds all the right things. Didn't I do it as sudo? Super secret password. Does it have to be sudo? Oh my gosh. The bad thing about having a good password is it's really hard. Changing shell for root, that was kind of stupid, but oh well. I guess we need to give it a user. No, I needed to change it for root anyway, so I don't use the change shell command. I don't. I probably should. I usually use it in Etsy password. I change it. Auth name shell user. Yeah. I thought you could change your own shell. Can't you change your own shell? That's very interesting. All right, let's try this again. All right, there we go. It worked. Oh well, I guess I'll leave all that in there. So now bash is my new shell. Echo bash version. Thank you for the help, everybody. Sorry I was such a noob with that, but they've changed some things with brew, the way brew works. Sudo for, I know, I don't think you should need sudo for the individual user, but looks like that took. Are not in your path. Bash in this case. Yeah, see, bash used to install packages in the right place. I mean, brew used to install packages that would resolve properly, and I'm struggling right now because the new brew doesn't do that. So I'm glad I'm struggling for people to see it. And it says the non-standard shell because it's not the Apple provided version, which is totally lame. So I'm glad you got to see my firsthand struggles and reaction to all of the changes that they've made. I'm definitely going to do a ranty video about the difference between the shells and Z shell and bash, and how I think Apple's got their head up their rear end with regard to changing from the bash shell. The reason they did it primarily, by the way, is the licensing and legal restrictions. That no matter what anybody tells you, that's the main reason they did it. So the good news is that we actually have bash installed. We've got bash 5 on, and we can now start customizing bash, beginning with putting brew into our path, and we'll start talking about what the path is. To do all of that, though, we're going to have to start slowly getting into what does it mean to write shell scripts. What does it mean to write bash scripts? This is one of those chicken and the egg scenarios that gets really messy, and I don't want you to be afraid of it, but we definitely are going to have to learn how to code a little bit before we learn to code, just in order to customize the shell. So we'll be doing some things that are actually code just to get the shell right, and then we'll come back later and we'll come to understand that all that stuff that we wrote into the configuration files was actually code, and we can now use that to write our own scripts for other things. That's probably one of the most challenging parts of getting started on Unix and Linux, is this this notion that you have to know how to script in order to set up the shell that you're going to use. And so where do you start, right? And I'm going to save the rest of the conversation about that to later. The spoiler is that you usually have to take somebody else's pre-configured settings and just adopt them and trust them. I mean, people have been doing this for years, and then you gradually learn how to customize them and make them your own. And that has been a rite of passage for Unix people since the beginning of Unix. So don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid of making the mistakes like I made, and I'll end the video there.